If you ever want to gain any form of power, you should avoid people who are victims. Avoid people who are unhappy and unlucky because these people are very, very infectious. They only have one goal because they are already sad, right? And sympathy or misery likes company. Anybody who chooses to accompany them, they will try their possible best to drag them to their level. And if you think about it, there are more people who become miserable than there are people who come out of miserability. What does that tell you? And what makes it worse is the fact that for some strange reasons, right, the world has turned towards pampering victims, thinking that it will help them become stronger. But guess what? It does the opposite because when you pander the whole narratives toward victims, it's almost like you are rewarding more people to become victims. And like I said, zoom out, right? And realize that if you want to save somebody who is a victim, you might end up being dragged to their level because why? They want company. They want somebody to validate their ideas, right? Even though the person is your best friend, because you really cannot save them. And now I must tell you that there are people, right, who life circumstances have brought them to that point. I agree with you, and maybe that is who we should consider helping, right? In terms of society putting effort into them, maybe orphans, people who are born into fatherless homes, and everything. They may need that sympathy. But see, some people, or a lot of people who play these victim cards, are people who have drawn the identity of a victim. Let me see. There are people who grew up with everything working for them, but for some strange reasons, for some strange events that happened in their life, everything took a spiral. They began to feel like the world is against them. And not because you personally want to save them, right? You want to save them. And if you think about it, I remember listening to Jordan Peterson when he says that, why are you trying to save a man who is drowning? What's more often than not, you trying to save somebody who is drowning is an egotistical move. If you zoom out and look, why is he drowning? Is he trying to swim in the first place? It's one thing if he doesn't know how to swim. Another thing if he knows how to swim, but he's locking his leg so he can drown. Because whether I like it or not, the drown is a character drown. It's not a physical drown where you think you can dive and swim and save him. And because of the way society has right now has pushed us into feeling emotional for victims, mind you, like I said, there are people who are naturally victims of circumstances, life. Maybe some people were born into IDP camps, people were born into, should I say, asylums, very, very funny situations. Those ones, I acknowledge them quite all right. But there are people who have drawn these things upon them, either with their actions or their inactions. They have put themselves in situations that they are heavily regretting, yet they want people to pay the price of their choices. They want to drag people to their level. So to earn what? And this is why I tell people that if you ever see somebody who's been a victim, ignore them. They have only one goal to drag you down. If you're somebody who is aiming to become powerful, you should realize that who you associate yourself with, who you are seen to associate yourself with is very important. That is one reason when they cancel some people, the big companies don't like to deal with them. Because why? They'll think you people share beliefs and values. They think you are probably the next person to become miserable. That is why if something happens to somebody's character, right, and it's obvious that it happened, yes, I get that sometimes a lot of bad things can happen. Like in case of Johnny Depp's story, he just lost deals because of false accusations. I admit that it happens. But yet, sometimes in terms of victimhood, it's a different case. So even with Johnny Depp, because of the way the case was presented, a lot of people believed it was true. And guess what? The companies that were dealing with Johnny Depp, all of them ignored the case. All of them ran away and left Johnny Depp to struggle to fight for himself. Because why? You partnering with a victim is a very big problem. Now we thank God that Johnny Depp was able to clear his name, and now he has cleared his name. Let's see what happens. The irony is that I don't know, well, because of how much we are pandered towards victim, and I mean this victim thing is so deep that I tell people that they bring up topics like racism, slavery. Yeah, does racism exist? Yes, it does. Can you live it? Can you progress in this world even though it exists? Most likely, yes, you can, because there are people who have progressed even with racism in place. So why aren't you making progress? No, because of what they did. That is what they did, not what they are doing. Right? Because I said that there are a lot of rich people who are black in America. There are a lot of rich people who are black all over the world. So why are we looking back in our history and saying this is the worst part we can get? Now people keep wondering, and this is one reason why a lot of black people that are very successful, they pander towards the white people. Because why? They are powerful, right? And they don't play the victim cards. They have this superiority complex. I mean, I won't say some of them have superiority complex, right, which is supremacist and all that. But I'm referring to people who they really don't mind. They're open-minded people, right? And they feel like, well, you're rich, I'm rich. We are both resourceful. Let's see how we can work together. They're open-minded. And because of somebody who is closed-minded, who still acts in the idea of racism, will elude opportunities just because of that mindset. One thing you should also realize is that you associating yourself with people like that is actually infecting you. Because why? You pity them. And when you pity them, guess what? Now, the moment you begin to pity them, your what they call it, your emotional state becomes tampered. That you begin to, because it's very, trust me, pity is a very infectious emotion. You pity them, you want to be with them, you want to take care of them, and like I said, they drag you down. And it's not intentional. It's a thing of nature. If you hang around miserable people, if your friends are miserable, it's a high chance to be the fifth miserable person. And one thing you get to realize is, and if you know this, if you understand this concept very well, and you figure that you happen to be somebody who has been a victim for a while, one advice I would give to you is go ahead and associate with other people who are not victims. Go ahead to associate with people who are up and shining, and never ever ever try to bring them down. Shut your mouth when something negative is coming out. Shut your mouth completely. Suck up that idea, and then one thing it's the same thing in life, right? If you're extroverted or if you're introverted, hang around extroverted people if you want to become social. And this is the trick. One thing I discovered is when I was introverted, very introverted, I'll go out with somebody who's extroverted to do all the talking while I'm just there doing my munching and everything. I got to realize that, well, I could also become extroverted myself, and I became extroverted. Mind you, from time to time, I flip between introvert and extrovert, and I'm super grateful for the fact that I can switch, because a lot of people can switch, and I get to enjoy the best of both worlds. So what happens if you're shy? Hang around with people who are confident, right? Because they will boost your morale. If you are weak, hang around people who are strong. Never ever ever hang around people who share the same defects or same problems as you do. That is a very big mistake. Why? Because that is going to create what is called a self-fulfilling problem. I think I discovered, I think it was our Nightingale that said it can discover what is called a self-dooming fulfilling cycle. Oh, I'm a victim. Oh, I messed up, right? And you're hanging around people who believe that they too are messed up. And before you know it, because of you want sympathy, two of you become friends. Have you ever realized, and this is how you can detect your friend is a problem. If you ever tell your friend a sad story, and he tells you how his story is sadder than yours, you have a very big problem. That's a very big problem, because why? Two of you are now bonding based on negative events. If you have a friend who you tell about a sad event and he's just there quiet, right? He's there quiet, yeah. Good. Now, if he's there and he tells you, gives you ways on how you can, maybe he's consoling you, right? Trying to like get your emotional states up. Maybe he's like, okay, you know what? Bad stuff has happened. You know what? Can we do this? Like, do you need rest? So after rest, we can go out, we can have something to drink or something. And that's a friend who's helping you. Because you understand that, okay, fine, at this current situation, something bad has happened. So let's take a break. Let's chill. And when you're done, you can go and face other things. That is a friend that you should associate yourself more, not with somebody who believes that you should keep being a victim. I will say this thing over and over again for the whole world to hear. And there is no point trying to save a victim. One, two. There's no point for victims to associate with victims. Now, this is where you get rallies. And why this is, so the thought just came to my head now, right now, about how it's when you bring victims like this is where you get something like a third wave feminism. Feminism itself is a very nice concept. Trust me, it's a very nice concept. But it is idea of third wave feminism where they literally want to force men to get weak so we can have strong women. And when I say strong women, they try to use the masculine definition of strong women. And guess what? The things that they despise in men is what they end up becoming. You know how crazy that is? And if you look at it very well, all of them, so apart from the politicians who are wise and they know how to capitalize on it, a lot of these underlying soldiers, I'll call them soldiers in terms of they're the ones who they push to the front, is because they come together all in the name of victimhood. Oh, my mom went through this, our grandmoms went through this. I'm like, okay, so if you see people who are always complaining, right? The worst part is that people who complain the most are literally coming from societies where everything is in order. That's why it completely blows my mind. But well, I always say that if you see somebody who is a victim, try to make them find things to be grateful for. Because most people who find themselves to be victims are most people who are victims in their heads. Because no matter how bad your story is, somebody else has a worse story than yours. So what can this one advice I'll give to you if you kind of see yourself as a victim? Look for things that you are grateful for. Some might say, oh, okay, right now I'm in Nigeria. I'm from Nigeria and I live in Nigeria. So at least I am grateful for having this light to create this content. I'm grateful for my camera. I'm grateful for my steady power supply, not from the government, but provided by myself. I'm grateful for my internet connection. I don't see myself as a victim. And I've actually met people who who come from the poorest backgrounds, and yet they are grateful for what they have. These are the people who society should see as victims because they were born into the circumstances. And more powerful, you see people who are born into the worst of the extreme circumstances still rising up to surpass people who were born into comfortable homes, but some of them claim to be victims. I'm telling you over and over again because it pisses me off. I have people who are close to me who keep playing these victim cards. I'm saying no. And that is the worst thing to ever play around this world. And I know I've digressed, and today's video is talking about how you should relate to happy people if you want to become powerful. And if you want to become powerful, relate more with more other people who are also powerful. This is why you are the average of the people you hang around with. So two things that I feel like for victims is one, the story that they tell themselves. Because that story, I can bet you, can be heavily misinterpreted. If you tell the story, right, I can change the perspective to that story and make you see things a different way. Any story at all. What that means is that the story one is in your head may not be entirely accurate. The second aspect is the people you hang around with. Is what do they do? Are they miserable? Are they putting you down further? Because putting you down further as a victim, or people putting others down as a victim, is super interesting because it enforces the identity. But lifting them up is the problem. It's a struggle. They will begin to see you as the enemy. They will begin to see you as an oppressor, because the mind of a victim only has oppressor versus oppressed. If you are not oppressed with them, you must be an oppressor. That is where literally, I want to drop this case of third wave feminists because it feels like I'm attacking them. Nah, they'll be alright. They'll be fine. The entire point is, never associate yourself with somebody who feels to be less than, who feels to be a victim. So, in summary, you should use what is called the osmosis of positive emotions. That means the more you hang around people that are happy, people that are positive, people that have things going for themselves, the more you become happy, the more you can have things going for yourself, and the more fulfilling your life is. So, let me see from my notes. Recognize the fortunate so you may choose their company, and unfortunate so that you may avoid them. Very powerful stuff. I've told you how you can do that, right? But first of all, if you see somebody who is miserable and you objectively look at them and realize that it's just a story in your head, avoid them. Never try to change them. You may ask, how do you save everybody? It's really not your business. There are people whose lives are get what's doing that. Maybe therapists and relax. Let him go for therapy. Let them go for therapy. Though I don't believe in them, but they'll figure something out. Now, misfortune is usually the crime of folly, and among those who suffer from it, there is no malady more contagious. Never open the door to the list of misfortunes, because guess what? Misfortune likes company, and I think people who are miserable like company. And the moment you allow a crack of miserable people come into your life, even if it's just one or two, guess what? They are going to invite you to a group of people who are also miserable, and it's a matter of time before you have joined this company and you are more miserable. Guess what? You can never be powerful. Many people who are powerful in the midst of miserable people are people who have found a way to channel their miserable nature to their advantage. And these are the politicians who are the head of all of these, shall I call it, movements, funny modern movements that are aimed to weak men. So they champion the movement. They really don't care about the victims. It's just, okay, you know what? It's so bad that at first women were the victims. Later, kids are the victims. Now guess what? Mentally ill people are the victims. Because why? All they just want to do is go after victims. I feel like the world is slowly waking up to this fact that this idea of victimhood is being weaponized. So like I said, you can use this to your advantage. Understand that you can gather a couple of victims, right? play a couple of cards to your advantage. That is, if you're a politician. I'm going to lie to you. Do what you can. So far, you know that there are consequences for everything, and you understand the consequences, and you're ready to live with them or figure it out. So thank you very much. Also, I iterate. There are people who are born into circumstances, right? They need the help of people, and if you can give them the help and it works for them, good. But if you see somebody who doesn't want your help, never ever attempt to help them. Only go for people that will make your own life better. So if we stay this long, it's obvious that you're somebody who takes himself very, very serious. I know that you may have somebody who is a victim, who you're having sympathy for right now. And that is the point. Slowly try this experiment for 30 days. Avoid that person who is down and only go for people who are fortunate, people who are happy. They may not have everything in the world, but the ones they have, they take very good care of. They are very grateful for it. They'll do you better favor in the world in terms of association, in terms of your pursuit of power. So thank you very much for staying this long. It shows that you take yourself very serious. Do yourself a favor, do somebody else a favor. Share this video with somebody who you know things are like, right? Let's come together. Let's form like a community of people. Let's talk in the comment section, and then from there we never can tell what's going to happen. A strong community might be formed around it. A community to make men strong again. So thank you very much. Talk to you soon, and bye for now.